Hello and welcome to the autoX show. On the show today, Jared drives the stunning Mercedes-AMG S63 Coupe. BMW Motorrad takes him back to school on the F850 GS Adventure. And Ravi drives the all-new Skoda Karoq and Kodiaq RS SUVs. But first, Jared revels in the power and luxury of the S63 AMG Coupe, and also scares himself silly in the process.
Mercedes-Benz is highly regarded as being one of the best automobile manufacturers on the planet, and that's because their roots go way back to when the first automobile was invented. Today, the S-Class is considered one of the best made cars on the planet, and that car's got everything you could ask for. A phenomenal engine, great performance, all the luxury you could ask for, tons of comfort, and the best quality. Well, the S-Class is more of a luxury saloon vehicle, and they have another derivative of that car that's made for, let's say, a more enthusiastic customer. And that car, ladies and gentlemen, is the S63 AMG Coupe. Now, while the S-Class is more of a luxury saloon, the S63 here is more of a brazen hooligan on the road. And that's because this car's got the AMG badge on it, and that stands for itself. The S63 is for someone who doesn't like those brazen exotic design that's gonna cut your eyes out. This is slightly more understated. But this is the car you can drive on an everyday basis, and at the same time on the weekends you can hang out with those ostentatious exotics. So this car is actually the updated version of the S63 Coupe, and this is the flagship model of all the AMG cars here in India. And well, this one has got a few design tweaks as well. Up at the front, it's got a new Pan America grille. It's also got bigger intakes, and at the rear, it's got a diffuser and those quad exhausts from AMG. But this car essentially is a grand touring car, and it competes with the likes of the Bentley Continental GT and the Porsche Panamera GT. Well, how does this car drive compared to those? We're about to find out. Wow, that exhaust note sounds really good. This is an AMG after all, so you would expect that. I am of course driving in Sport Plus mode, and that makes the exhaust note much better. There are 5 modes in this car. It's got individual, which you can adjust each thing like the engine, suspension, transmission, steering by yourself. You've got comfort mode, which is makes the air suspension nice and soft for bad roads and highway driving. And then of course you've got Sport, Sport Plus, and then you have Race. I am not going to put it in race mode right now because I am not out of my mind. I'm going to stay sane and just see what I can do with this car exactly. Let's start with the numbers. This is the new S63, so it's got a heart transplant. It now gets the engine from the E63 AMG, and that is a 4-liter bi-turbo engine V8. So it gets about 612 brake horsepower, but its torque has been bumped up by 50 Newton meters to 900 Newton meters. So this is by all means a very, very powerful car. To put things into perspective, the Bentley Continental GT 12-cylinder variant has got the exact same specs, and I drove that car just recently in the UK and was blown away with it. The S63 here is a lot more sporty, I have to say, compared to the Bentley Continental GT. This car definitely is comfortable, it's luxurious, the interior is absolutely amazing. It's got the same layout as the S-Class, you would imagine, so it's got the massive 12-inch screens up front. Detailing is spot on. Seats are like, you know, very nice, race inspired. This is an AMG, of course. You've got the AMG badging everywhere. And this entire cabin is just drowning in Napa leather. It's everywhere. And it's mixed with a few carbon fiber spots around. But overall, I mean, this is a Mercedes S-Class. It's one of the best cars in the world. You cannot expect anything less from them. It's absolutely beautiful in here. It's super comfortable. It's not as spacious and as detailed as the Bentley Continental GT, which is actually really obnoxiously luxurious. This is a little understated, but it does feel a lot more sporty. And the exhaust note from any AMG car will put any other car to shame, to be honest. I love the way it sounds. So I've been driving for the most part in comfort, and I have to say, even in comfort, you get everything you could ask for from the engine. The power delivery is phenomenal. The engine is super smooth. The throttle is a little slow to respond to what you want. There is some lag, but that's of course you're in comfort mode. When you switch to Sport or Sport Plus, becomes, you know, a beast. You unleash the beast. And it just sprints from 0 to 100 in about 4 seconds. So that is because the right-hand car models of the S63 get only rear-wheel drive. The European spec models get all-wheel drive. This one is a rear-wheel drive model, gets air suspension and all the other goodies as well. But because of the rear-wheel drive, the traction isn't really there, and so you get a 0 to 100 sprint time in about 4 seconds. If you had all-wheel drive, it would be 3.5 seconds, but I mean, who's gonna complain about a 0.5 second difference to race from 100? You won't even notice. Once you press down on the acceleration, the car just goes so fast. And I'm right now driving in the hills of Lonavala to see how the car handles. And I have to say, for a 2-ton car, it handles really, really well. You do feel the weight, of course. It does feel like a heavy car, but it's very nimble, very agile. It's obviously not, you know, as quick and, you know, instinctive as what you would feel in, let's say, a Ferrari, Lamborghini. But this still is very, very nice. It turns into corners. Precision-wise, it's fantastic. You just point in the direction you want to go and it just goes. Everything else about this car is just, you know, it just works out so well. It's an S-Class, it's comfortable, and you can actually drive it every day. It's very practical, I must say. I've driven it around Mumbai for a while, and absolutely no problems going over bad roads or speed breakers. You don't have to worry about the underbody being hit. This car is just absolutely amazing to drive in any condition, and when you want to go crazy, all you have to do is just press down and, oh my God! It's insane. Wow, almost lost control there. But yeah, this is really, really, really a fun car. It can be very, very, very powerful, and it can be a nice laid-back highway tour when you want it to be. It's got different personalities, and of course, you know, you have Mercedes-Benz reliability. This car costs 2.5 crore rupees, and within that, you obviously have, of course, the Porsche Panameras there, but the Panamera gets much less power. In terms of, you know, being equal to this car, the Bentley Continental GT is the biggest rival to this, but that car is double the price of this. So the 900 Newton meters of torque in this car are so insane, and the power is sent instantaneously to the rear wheels, and you can actually feel and hear the rear wheels spinning, especially when you're trying to overtake someone and you press down. I mean, if you can hear that, I mean, it's just insane. I can feel it. The car fishtails a little bit. It's really fun, scary at the same time. And I have to say as well, the 9-speed automatic transmission in this car is beautiful. It's got a mind of its own. I haven't used the paddle shifters even once till now. So I'm gonna put the car in race mode now. And what that actually does is that it shuts off the ESP, puts it in sport mode, so there's no traction whatsoever. And you would have to be insane or have some really big cojones to put it in that mode and drive in these narrow roads here, because it's just really something else. Steering is really, really good. Could have been a little bit more direct, but other than that, the car stays very nicely planted. Whoa! See that? That's what I'm talking about. That kind of stuff really holds you down and brings you back to reality. But yeah, this car, wow, it's a beast, dressed as a man in a tuxedo at a banquet. So wow, beautiful car, having so much fun. So at a price of rupees 2.5 crore ex-showroom Delhi, the S63 Coupe AMG is a very exclusive car and is being brought to India in limited numbers. But this car is a fantastic piece of machinery. It's made by Mercedes-Benz and it's got the AMG badge in it. Is there anything else out there that's more ludicrous than this? Well, there is of course the Bentley Continental GT. That's a little bit more aristocrat. It's got a much better design, it's got better road presence, and it's way more luxurious. And then of course you've got the Porsche Panamera GT. But overall, as a total package, I have to say the Mercedes-Benz AMG S63 Coupe is beautiful, absolutely wonderful machine, and it's better than most in its own right.
Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Jared ditches 4 wheels for 2 and takes to the dirt. Welcome back to the AutoX show. Now the BMW Motorrad F850 GS took top honors in our Best of 2018 awards. But if that isn't good enough for you, BMW has now introduced the F850 GS Adventure. Here's Jared teetering on the brink once again.
So BMW Motorrad makes some of the most amazing motorcycles on the planet. And they've been around in India for a while now and they're doing quite well. In fact, one of their bikes, the G310 GS, is actually made right here in India. Well, we are here in Pune for the BMW Motorrad GS experience. What is that exactly? Well, if you are a BMW owner of a GS motorcycle, you can come down to the GS experience and you can learn how to handle these amazing machines. That's because these machines are so advanced and they're so big and so powerful that you would be out of your mind if you just bought one and went out for a ride. So you come down to a GS experience and you meet the instructors and they'll show you all the tricks you need to handle these amazing motorbikes. We've been here for the whole day and we've ridden the entire lineup of the GS motorcycles and we've had a phenomenal experience with the instructors here. Now they've only focused on 3 main things today, and that was our footwork, our bodywork, and our sight of vision. And it's very important how these all come into play when you're riding and handling big bikes like this. It's a phenomenal experience if you want to come and see what the range is like, and if you want to see how high your capability is for riding a big bike like the GS. Well, getting back to these bikes, we've also managed to ride the new F850 GS Adventure. Now, we've already ridden the F850 GS a long time ago when we rode it to Dehradun. In fact, you can watch a review on YouTube or you can head to autoX.com to read the entire review. Now, that bike was a more road-centric bike. It wasn't really a hardcore off-roader. And if you are a hardcore adventurous and you really want to go out and ride on tarmac and at the same time go and hit the dirt really hard, well, the F850 GS could do it, but not so comfortably and not so capably. The 850 GS Adventure, on the other hand, is tuned to be a more hardcore off-roader. And well, it's got a few updates to do that. The first thing you'll notice that this bike is significantly bigger than the 850 GS. The Adventure version we have here is about 240 kilograms. That's because it's got a massive front cowling now and a radiator cowling as well. The fuel tank is now 23 liters of capacity, so you can go on ultra long rides and, pull the throttle down, be very happy with it for as long as you want without a problem. Other changes are the adjustable windscreen, and of course you've got the luggage case here, and you've got the engine crash guards, and you've got a better suspension now. It's got more travel at 230 millimeters at the front. The rear suspension also has been made a little bit more stiff. That's because the weight of this bike is more. So to adjust for that, the rear has become a little bit more stiff, but that does not affect the ride quality of this bike. Now, we've only ridden this bike on an off-road section today. That's because we've already ridden the 850 GS. We know it's fantastic on the road, and we knew it could be a little bit better off-road. So we spent the entire day here at this GS Experience obstacle course, and we've put the 850 GS Adventure through some insane obstacles. And now our instructor, he managed to help us understand these bikes a little bit better. We learned a lot of interesting things about how we can handle these bikes. The 850 GS Adventure now gets the same engine as the 850 GS. This is an 853cc water-cooled engine that's a 2-cylinder, and this one has been bumped up to about 95 brake horsepower and 92 Newton meters of torque. Overall, engine refinement is the same, very smooth, very crisp. Acceleration is spot on. The torque kicks in when you need it, and that's honestly more than enough power that you can use on any riding conditions, whether you're on the road, or you're on the highway, in the city, or whether you're going off-road. Now again, this version we have is the Pro version, so it gets added rider modes. There are 4 riding modes in this one, but we've only stuck to the Enduro Pro mode. That's because we've been off-road the entire day. Another thing I want to mention is that we do not have the stock tires on here. We've got some nice proper Metzeler off-road tires for this occasion. We've also adjusted the handlebar and the clutch and the brake lever so that when we're standing up, it's more comfortable. Now, getting to the way this bike rides off-road, to be honest, the steering damping is perfect. This front suspension is really nice. The ride is very pliant no matter how rough the surface is. We've been on some loose dirt and some hard surfaces here, some loose gravel, a few jumps as well, and we've had a very nice overall experience with these bikes. They handle very well. Even though it's heavy, once you get moving, the center of gravity of these bikes are all placed right smack at the core of it, so it's very easy to handle between your knees. Another thing is that the rear suspension really feels good, especially when you're fishtailing a little bit, so it stays planted no matter how hard you pull the throttle down. And when you're in enduro mode, the throttle also becomes a little weaker, so the power kicks in a little late, and that's obviously because it helps with traction, so you don't twist all the way down and gets flying off the road. It's a very convenient feature to have that Enduro Pro. Of course, it switches the ABS off and you can adjust everything else the way you want it to be depending on your riding style. It's got an amazing instrument cluster, TFT, that looks beautiful and it displays all the information you want, and you can control everything quite easily from here. The suspension, the ABS, and the throttle response, everything can be controlled right from here. And overall, this is a really good bike. So if you liked the 850 GS, and you like to go on a lot of long rides, let's say to Ladakh or Spiti, for example, this is a much better option because it is just as good on tarmac, and when you want to go into the rough stuff, this is even better. 21-inch tire at the front again is really nice. Spoke wheels, very good. We love the gold color on them, by the way. It really stands out. Overall, this bike is really good. The GS experience is essential to owning one of these bikes because you really will become a much better rider if you attend one of these amazing events held by BMW Motorrad. So if you are interested in buying a BMW GS motorcycle, or if you already own one, make sure you do go to one of the GS experience events. They are fantastic, and BMW continues to make amazing motorcycles. We are very impressed with this thing. So this 850 GS Adventure model has a starting price of rupees 15.5 lakh rupees ex-showroom Delhi. Now, that is a little steep, of course, but you're getting everything you could ask for. It's the total package for an all-out adventure motorcycle. In this segment, you got the Tiger 800, you got the Multistrada 950, but honestly, I don't think any of those bikes have the versatility and the capability of this motorcycle right here. It's a BMW. They started this segment. It's a really comfortable bike. The quality is top-notch, amazing features, so the price is highly justifiable. I really like this bike, and I cannot wait to go out on an adventure on this machine.
Now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Ravi tries out a pair of new Skoda SUVs. Welcome back to the AutoX show. Now the Skoda Kodiaq is a really nice, family-friendly SUV. But what happens when you spice it up a bit?
The Skoda Kodiaq is a full-size SUV with a high dose of practicality and clever features. And despite its size and proportions, it drives reasonably well. It has a 2-liter diesel motor which has a strong mid-range, which is reasonably good for regular duties. But if it is performance you seek, you're going to need this, the Skoda Kodiaq RS. This one isn't just a rebadged, sportier looking variant of the Kodiaq. This is the real deal. The Kodiaq RS lapped the 20.8 km Nürburgring circuit in just 9.29 minutes, making it the fastest production 7-seat SUV around the circuit. It's a family car with enthusiastic aspirations, but can it perform equally well on both fronts? Kodiaq RS looks quite similar to the standard model, at least as far as the primary design cues are concerned, but Skoda has given it a few more sporty bits to make it look better. Now there are these nice looking 20-inch alloy wheels, it gets red brake calipers, there's a nice gloss grille up front, and there are different bumpers at the front as well as at the back. The RS badges on the front grille and on the tailgate make its performance aspirations clear. Just like the Octavia RS, Skoda has done well to ensure that the Kodiaq RS exudes sportiness and aggressiveness, but without undergoing too many changes in its overall design. Now in terms of interior, Skoda has managed to make it look sportier as well. While the overall layout of the dashboard remains more or less the same, there are a lot of bits around that make it look better. You get these 4 carbon fiber bits on the dashboard, contrast stitching for the steering wheel and the seats, and you get these nice, comfortable, well-supportive, sporty seats. All the changes made to the interior add an air of sportiness and exclusivity to the RS's cabin. What's interesting is that the Kodiaq RS continues to have the same space and practicality in the cabin as before. In terms of features and equipment, the RS gets all the clever bits we have seen on the Kodiaq, including the door protectors, detachable boot light, and neck pillows for the second row passengers. Just like the Kodiaq LNK, this one too comes with an all-digital instrument cluster. Now the Kodiaq RS comes with the same 2-liter diesel motor as the standard model, but in this one it makes about 236 horsepower and 500 Nm. That's 90 bhp and about 140 Nm more than the standard car. Skoda has managed to extract all of this additional power and torque by fitting the engine with 2 turbochargers. Now all of this additional power does give it better performance than the standard model, but it still isn't alarmingly quick. Kodiaq RS comes with different driving modes: Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, Individual and Snow. In the Eco and Comfort modes, the engine remains rather quiet. Switch to Sport or Individual and you'll hear a sweet burble like that of a V8. Skoda calls this the Dynamic Boost System. This system is more or less like what you've seen in some of the sports cars, where the sound from the exhaust is amplified into the cabin using the car's speaker system. Primary difference here, however, is that the sound is pretty much manufactured. Nevertheless, it is quite addictive and will lure you into digging your right foot deeper. The Kodiaq RS does feel stiffer than the standard model, and that does improve the handling by quite a bit, but it also reflects in the way it rides over bad roads. The real highlight of the Kodiaq RS is in the way it attacks corners. All the technological wizardry like the dynamic chassis control and the progressive steering play their part in offering supreme confidence around corners. In fact, during a test drive, the car remained stable and turned in sharply without much drama at high speeds, even as the rain came pouring down. The steering weighs up as you go faster, body roll is well contained, especially for a car this big and tall. The standard Kodiaq is already an impressive car in terms of handling, but the RS takes it a notch further. The near perfect roads around Prague weren't the ideal conditions to judge the car's ride quality, but given the stiff suspension setup, we expect it to be a little harsh for the rear passengers. Well, honestly, the Kodiaq RS is unlike any other offering Skoda has had on sale in the past. It's their first SUV to wear the RS insignia, and it comes with a diesel heart. In the Kodiaq RS, Skoda has managed to add the crucial fun factor to a practical SUV, a formula that is sure to be appreciated by a lot of enthusiasts. The only problem is that Skoda is uncertain about bringing it to India, especially because it will demand a premium over the Kodiaq LNK, and that will make it quite an expensive offering. But we can always hope, can't we?
Now we don't know if the Kodiaq RS will come to India, but we do know that this next SUV, the all-new Karoq, will.
Half a decade ago, Skoda wasn't quite focused on SUVs. The Yeti was the only car they had on offer, and it was quite an underrated product. It had good build quality, reasonable dynamics, and was decent enough off-road too. The Yeti did miss the boat as far as a few things are concerned. First, it wasn't a conventional looking SUV. The van-like proportions didn't quite go well with SUV buyers. Second, it wasn't available in an automatic transmission option. And third, the price to size ratio wasn't the best to say the least. Skoda discontinued the Yeti in 2017 and later that year announced plans of replacing it with the Karoq. It is scheduled to be launched in India around mid-2020, so when we got a chance to drive it at Skoda's global headquarters, we grabbed it. fans of the eccentric design of the Yeti will somewhat be disappointed with the Karoq. Shaped like a conventional SUV, the Karoq looks like a scaled-down version of the Kodiaq. Skoda has clearly played it safe in terms of design. While the Karoq's conventional design won't make you fall in love with it, there's no denying that its SUV design is sure to appeal to a larger audience, at least in comparison to the Yeti. If you've seen the Kodiaq, the interior of the Karoq will surely look familiar. The steering is an identical 3-spoke unit, the climate control buttons are the same, and it also has vertically placed aircon vents. The shape of the dashboard, however, is different. Taking center stage is a large 9.2-inch touchscreen infotainment unit that comes paired with a 12-speaker audio system. The front seats are well crafted with good support for the torso and the thighs. This should make spending long hours in the driver's seat a rather comfortable affair. You sit high in the cabin, which gives you a wide view from behind the wheel. The cabin is also high on the practicality quotient. There are quite a few cubby holes that can hold large 1-liter bottles, and there's also a tiny trash bin on the driver's side. The Karoq also comes with wireless charging function, and build quality feels solid, just like you would expect from a Skoda. We got our hands on the 2-liter diesel, same as the Kodiaq. In this car too, it produces a similar 148 bhp and 340 Nm. The Karoq's torque band is wide, ranging from as low as 1750 rpm right up to 3000 rpm. There's a bit of lag before the torque kicks in, but once you cross the 1800 rpm mark, the car pulls cleanly. The Karoq feels really strong in its mid-range, which makes overtaking quite an easy affair. Push the car further and it starts to get a bit noisy and performance diminishes too. The Karoq comes mated to a 7-speed DSG. Gear shifts are as smooth as we have come to expect in all Volkswagen Group models. Handling isn't the Karoq's strongest point. It doesn't feel as engaging to drive as its larger sibling or even the Yeti for that matter. That said, it isn't a complete slouch either. Our test car sat on 20-inch wheels, which made the ride quite firm. The India spec model is likely to sit on smaller wheels, which should improve its ability to tackle bad roads. Skoda has officially announced that the Karoq will make its way to India around mid-2020. It will be brought to India via the CBU route, so expect its price to be on the higher side to start with. Leaving the price aside, will the Karoq be a good car to have in the segment? Definitely, but it's not quite as edgy or engaging as the Yeti.
Well, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. Remember, it's chaos out there, so always buckle up and wear your helmets. We'll see you again next weekend on the autoX show.